Aloha, konnichiwa, ciao, good morning, good morning, good morning, namaste. How are you today? Notice the background? Yes, indeed. We're on a Caribbean island. There's a thought, isn't it? I didn't wear my budgie smugglers. I thought it might put you off your breakfast. How are you today? It's Ken at 10. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Thanks for coming. And for those of you watching later on during the day on Rewind, welcome to you too. And thank you so much for being here. You know, like News at 10, where all the current news affairs are reported in immaculate detail with correspondents from all over the world. Yeah, this is nothing like that. We talk about property every day. We're estate agents based in Southwest London, Southwest 16 to be precise, which is Norbury, which is situated between Streatham, Croydon, and is full of fantastic people. And we're a great commuter area, being Zone 3, right on the edge of the city. And as the lockdown releases, that will become important to people. So how are you doing today? Hope you had a great weekend. Wasn't it beautiful weather? Was it where you were yesterday? I had a run yesterday. It was absolutely cracking. All the crocuses are out. Just like fuel for me. When the sun comes out, you're running along. There's something beautiful about it. So today, Boris is going to release the roadmap. And we're all going to be looking at how the lockdown is going to ease, which is great news for everyone, really, isn't it? It's good to see. I'm not quite sure releasing all the schools together. Is that wise? Not sure. We must get Georgia Labrie-Gallivanter back on the show to talk about the coronavirus and where we're going. But what we do know is 17.5 million doses have now been supplied. And there's a huge drop-off in infection rates and deaths, which is wonderful news. And really, that light at the end of the tunnel, we're getting close to the end of that tunnel now, aren't we? You know, you really do feel it's palpable and quite exciting. So what's going on with the housing market, I hear you say? Headlines today, let's go through a few of those. We've got one from the Daily Express. 1 in 4 homeowners regrets having bought a property in the area where they live. They say that they had little choice in the locality they wanted to live, and 28% chose to live where they did to develop their property. Affordability was one reason, and proximity to family was another. And it's interesting. It says, although the pandemic has led to many working from their kitchen table, it seems that a third still have an eye on post-pandemic life when it comes to purchasing a house. Well, it's funny because we're finding that many people are choosing to completely change their lives. It seems a lot of people have reflected on what they're doing in the time that they've had off and deciding to have a complete 180-degree turnaround. We've also got some news today on what's going on with a think tank, the Centre for Policy Studies, which are a really interesting think tank on stamp duty. I'll come to that in a moment. And property experts are split on the effects of the stamp duty deadline, with one predicting there'll be an exactly 2,500 drop. What a ridiculous headline. Chuck that away. Could you I always say, if you could get within 5% of property values, then you've done very well, let alone getting within 0.25%. Ridiculous statements. Working from home is going to impact future transport planning. This is a headline in the Telegraph suggesting that they're thinking on the, at the moment we've got the census due to launch next month, and the questions on it will be how often and when do you travel to work? And of course this will have changed dramatically for a lot of people, and rightly it will impact on how we travel and what we do in the future. We've been saying for a while now that there are lots of changes afoot in that direction. I wonder how many people will go back to the city, how many people will stay at their desks. It'd be really interesting to look at that statistically in a year's time. Another article in Estate Agents Today looking at what effect the lockdown has had on the property market generally. And this is by Ellie Donaghy, head of lettings group, one of the big groups. Many homeowners are still using this time to review their location and home. Many are choosing to plan moves for this year. Well, yeah, we know that because of stamp duty deadline, many of those. On the subject of mortgages, this is true. There are now 160 deals with a 10% deposit available for first-time buyers. Now, that might sound like a lot, but it's still down significantly. Overall, there's 160 deals available. There were 762 this time last year. And it's not only that, and what she's missing with that statement is the fact that the rates are still quite high for first-time buyers as well, which is very frustrating. On the cladding, something that's close to our heart, and we feel so many people have been unfairly affected by a clause identified in the fund. This is in the Daily Mail. A clause identified in the government's fund to replace unsafe cladding has raised concerns that thousands of leaseholders of flats could end up missing out, proving they have sufficient funding to carry out the work. If they can't prove that, then safety defects identified have to be exactly so. And the average costs are massive. Average cost for a leaseholder of replacing unsafe cladding is estimated to be $22,500, and leaseholders face another $25,600 for other defects, according to ARMA, the Association of Residential Managing Agents. That's the overarching body for managing blocks of flats. So if you want to complain about your leasehold managing agents, they're the ones that might be able to help you. Now, Zooplan Rightmove, interesting. They have both launched a thing called Modern Method of Auction. And basically what they're doing is they're creating, well, not creating, they're allowing on their platforms an auction portal. And the platform they're using is via I Am Sold, I believe. There are lots of them like it. I mean, we've been doing it for years now. We partner with a big national group, Network Auctions, and the online auctions, we used to do it in the city, in a hotel room there. And there was something about being in the room and the excitement and everything. But now we do it online and it works very well. Well, Zooplan Rightmove are catching up that this can be a useful way of doing this. And it sits nicely between private treaty and auction. And it's a way of getting both sides covered. And if that's something you're considering, we can certainly help you with that. It's one of those things, though, where you need specific advice on that. The price pitching has to be so tight to make that work. It really does. And that's something that we've been doing for years now. And if you need a really quick sale, it can work for you wherever you are in the UK. If you need help with that, we can do it. Deal breakers for prospective buyers. CEO of a big online estate agent told The Express about the features which are now becoming top priorities for households. The first is space. Buyers are looking for more space and a bigger home. Well, of course they are, because they're working from home, therefore they need that office space. Next priority is where they're looking. They're looking to buy away from the city. 10% increase in people moving from urban to rural areas last year. Another lockdown essential is space, with 4 in 10 saying they're moving for a bigger garden or outside space. Quite often what they do with that garden is put a office in anyway and then lose a bit of that space, but that's another story. Now, think tank in stamp duty plea. This is something from The Sun. Yes, indeed, The Sun's got a quality headline here. The Centre for Policy Studies has called for an extension of the stamp duty holiday, saying that the March 31st cut-off for relief could jeopardise the recovery and deepen the housing crisis. The think tank says the relief measure put into place to support the property market amid the pandemic has prevented a collapse in the building sector, in the house building sector, arguing that drawing it to a close next month risks repeating the housing bust of 1988, when the market slumped after tax relief was ended. Well, I remember that very well. And I remember that happening, and it was an immediate cliff fall at that time. I think the circumstances are somewhat different this time, but I still think they make a good point. Not only the CPS has called for an extension to the stamp duty holiday, it's also suggested the levy should either see the threshold permanently increased or abolished completely. Love to see that, wouldn't you? Stamp duty abolished. Not going to happen, though, I don't think. Why? Because it's just such an easy tax for the government to collect. They don't have to do anything. No one argues with them. The solicitors have to send the money on completion. There's nothing you can do about it. So I don't think there's going to be any chance of it actually being abolished, as much as I would love to see that. What I would like to see is the threshold raised. And if it were raised, the problem with that raise is that we had this before, where they raised the threshold to 120,000 before you started to pay duty, which is great if you live in another area. But if you're in London, it has almost no impact. And then, of course, over the years, as property prices rise, so that threshold should rise as well, and never has. First-time buyers have got a new option. This is an interesting one. I should add, this is not mortgage advice. See your advisor if you want mortgage advice. But a new mortgage has been launched that allows parents to use their incomes to help their children get on the property ladder. This is quite a nice idea. The Teachers Building Society product is structured so that up to 4 people can be jointly responsible for payments, but only one needs to be on the deeds. 2 of these borrowers can use their income towards affordability calculations, potentially giving a bigger loan. These joint borrower sole proprietor loans are not typically offered by high street lenders, but are an alternative way for parents to help children to afford a first home. First-time buyers paid on average $256,000 on average for their home last year, according to Halifax, an increase of $22,939 or 10% from 2019. And that's an interesting one. I think for first-time buyers, I've said for a while now that the builders kind of have it their own way with the Help to Buy scheme. And I think that's a real reason why they're paying uplifts of 10% on their properties that the first-time buyer in the market, and the rest of the market isn't. So that's it. for the headlines today. Hope you have a good day today. We've got a busy day today. Love a Monday. Why do I love a Monday? Because at the weekend, we get all the activity, all the viewers out. So on a Monday, all the offers come in. We're tying up offers, looking at various deals, what we can do to structure them, how we can present them to our buyers and sellers, and try and make the best of it for both parties. Some great new instructions coming up as well. Busy week ahead. We're just about to go into our morning meeting, which is always great fun, and looking at what we can do to make this week the best possible. So hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. That's Ken at 10 for another day. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Take care of yourselves and your family.